welcome to this month's edition of the Civil Defense Personal Preparedness Podcast. We're recording this in April 2026. I'm Adam Weintraub. I'm a staff officer with Hawaii County Civil Defense. I'm here with Talmadge Magno, Civil Defense Administrator for the county. April is Tsunami Awareness Month, and we hope you all had a chance to see last month's episode where we talked about the history of Hawaii tsunamis and with the head of the Pacific Tsunami Museum. It's available on our website and on the Naleo television YouTube page. We all got a bracing dose of tsunami awareness last July when coastal areas across all of Hawaii were evacuated because of a tsunami warning, the result of a major earthquake off the coast of Kamchatka. There were no injuries, no significant damage, but we did see some hefty traffic jams, especially on Oahu. Talmadge, how did the Big Island do when faced with a possible tsunami?
Well, we do have some complexities with our island, just the natural aspect of the largeness of our island and the population being spread out. So we did have some issues, but according to our plan, we met the milestones as far as getting everybody out of the tsunami inundation zone within 3 hours. I know there's a lot of complaints about traffic jams and waiting in traffic, but even those people were out of harm's way. So that's some of the discussion we'll have today as far as the tsunami evacuation zone. So overall, it was a success, but right away we look at room for improvement, and hopefully next time things won't be as chaotic.
We do an after-action review after every incident of this magnitude. Is you realize that maybe people's expectations were not set in advance. And when one of the things that kept coming up when we reviewed this most recent incident was how many people were on the roads. It slowed down traffic flow. Now, some of that was undoubtedly because the evacuation took place at the time when folks are normally going home from work. So the roads are already a little crowded in some areas as a result of that. But we also saw a lot of folks driving to get fuel and buy food, and some people who hit the road even though they were already in a safe location. So for Tsunami Awareness Month, we thought we'd talk a little bit more about how to respond during a tsunami warning. Does everyone need to head uphill when the tsunami warning comes across, when it's declared?
To answer that question, no. And the explanation behind it is, if you're outside of the evacuation zone, you're safe. And so I know this past event, it was during the Pauhana time, so people are going to head home, and that compounded things. But we've got to be kind of situationally aware. If there's an evacuation going on and you're in a safe place, no need to evacuate, just stay off the roads. Let the people that are possibly in harm's way, move to safe areas and so forth. So no matter what time of day it is, if you're safe, just stay off the roads.
Not everybody is necessarily thinking at all times, am I in the zone? How do you know if you should go?
Definitely take some pre-planning. And there are mechanisms on our website. We have a function that you can go and put in your address, whether it's your workplace or your home address or, Ohana's family address. And it'll tell you if you're in a inundation zone and that you need to evacuate. Other signs are out there as you travel around. Look at the street signs. We do have signs that say entering tsunami zone and exiting. And additionally, we have the evacuation route signs that arrows will lead you out of the tsunami area. So those are several features that are out there now or available for folks to know, what is, I guess, their responsibility to know when there's tsunami evacuations going on.
And if the folks at LA are doing a fine job of post production, that I know they will, on the screen you should have seen a link that takes you to our website, to the place where you can check any address on the Big Island and find out whether it's in the zone or not. It'll show a red area, a yellow area, or a clear area, and only the areas that are along the shoreline that are labeled in either red or yellow are areas where evacuation is mandatory. Um, if you have problems with the internet, and I know a lot of folks, especially if they're on their phones, it can be tricky to work with some of these tools. You can also always call our office at the number that's on your screen, and they'll help you identify whether the addresses in question are in the zone or out of the zone. So by knowing in advance that you are in an evacuation zone, you know that the tsunami evacuation means you should move away from the shore. But what happens if you know that you're outside the zone? And maybe you've checked your kid's school and you're picking them up. You know that you're safe. What's the next step then?
So as I said, if you're in a safe zone, just stay put. If you don't need to go and help anybody evacuate or pick up someone, just stay there till the evacuation. Let the evacuation proceed. Monitor your radio or the way you get your alerts. Pay attention to that to know what's going on. There will be a sequence of sirens going off, alerts going off to tell you what's going on. Our messages will be pushed out through the systems what we have and public radio. So pay attention to that. At some point, the National Weather Service or Pacific Tsunami Warning Center will issue a cancellation to the tsunami. At that point, it tells us, that things are a little bit safer, but depending on what the situation is, if there has been inundation or not, we still have to make sure things are okay before we issue an all clear. But, once the evacuation goes into place, just monitor your radio or how you get your alerts to know what's going on until you get back out on the streets. If you're in a safe area, just stay there.
Okay, and the county will be the one that issues that all clear, and they'll let folks know when it's safe to move about again and when they can return to the coast.
Right. And just for clarification, the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center issues the cancellation that the tsunami threat is over. But then each county has to push out an all clear that it's safe to, safe or not to go to the shorelines. It's depending on what kind of impacts we've had.
Got it. So we've talked about if you know you're in the zone. We've talked about if you know you're out of the zone. If you're not sure, what's the best thing to do? I mean, some people may be running errands. They may be away from those locations that they've checked. What do you do if you're not sure what to do?
Well, of course, the rule of thumb is if you're at the beach, you're on the shoreline, you're in the zone. So get out. If you're not sure, then by all means, take measures to make yourself safe to get out of that area. If you're in a concrete building, pretty modern concrete building, get above the third floor. But definitely get vertical or get out of the tsunami evacuation zone.
And I know that there were some cases where people drove quite a long way to what they thought was safe. In some cases, you can walk out of the zone. Is that correct?
Absolutely. That's another good point. You don't have to get in your car. In fact, some places might be gridlocked that you have to walk. But basically getting inland, getting into higher ground, where there's 50-foot elevation, if you're aware of that, or maybe a half a mile to a mile inland would be sufficient distance from the coastline to be safe.
Okay. So we've talked about the three situations, but there's a fourth one that we haven't really talked about because all of those warnings apply when we've got a distant tsunami, one that's coming from quite a long way away. What else do people need to know about local tsunamis?
So the local tsunami requires that folks on the island understand that they're going to feel that earthquake. It'll be a large earthquake, one that maybe knocks you off your feet, you lose balance, things crash indoors or whatever, something that might put fear in you that is so strong, that's an indication that you need to move to high ground immediately. It's not necessary that that we'll be able to push the sirens out or alerts out because it's happening so fast. So it's knowledge and education that folks need on island to be able to respond on their own. Just move to high ground or
And
vertically.
And in addition to that sharp shaking, if you're on the coastline, you should watch for water receding and the reef exposed or the fish exposed. I've heard people talk about a freight train like noise or a sort of a boiling look to the water. These are all what you'd call natural tsunami warning signs and a clue to you. Don't wait for the siren. Get uphill.
Yes, those are all signs that would indicate that the tsunami's coming.
And if we needed a reminder that local tsunamis can be deadly, we just passed the 50th anniversary of the 1975 Kalapana earthquake and tsunami, which devastated the campsite at Halape Cove. So this is not just information you can use. This is information that could save your life. Talmadge, thank you for joining us. Thank you all in the audience for joining us. We hope you learned something useful today about tsunami awareness and safety. Until next time, stay prepared.